how you do it has gotten you where you are today. What what other soft skill things are important, like being a pro? Like,
Um, biggest thing, especially out on the field, is body language. I mean, you got a lot of people watching you, and then especially at the big league level, you got thousands and thousands of people watching you. So, if you have poor body language out there, everybody's going to notice, and people will say things as well. And whether that's, in person or it could be all over social media, it don't matter. People talk. So body language is, I mean, I think one of the biggest things. Another thing, communication, looking in the who you're talking to, look in their eyes, be brief with what you're saying, stuff like that. And especially like career wise, the communication thing, especially in the baseball part of it, like communication is the biggest thing for your career, especially when it comes to talking to either coaches or the front office, right? Like if you're, let's say, like we'll take last year, for example, I didn't start out where I wanted, right? So that's up to me to go communicate, like, hey, what did you guys see that made you put me where you guys put me, basically? What did you guys see, and what do I need to do to move to that next level? And then they'll be brief. They'll tell you everything you need to do, and then from there, it's just up to you to go and do it.
so Chris, I mean, this is so interesting because it's all the things we talk about when we talk about people, whether they own businesses, they work for the Chamber of Commerce, students getting jobs, adults getting jobs, right? Is that communication, your body language, how you deal with people.
Well, I was just thinking too, and just in case anybody who just jumped on, we had a little glitch in our technology. There was a delay in us going live, so we missed the beginning of it, but that's okay. We push on. But in the beginning, Brandon was talking about the resiliency and the struggles he had early on. And I think when you talk about those employability skills, right? Like he was talking about communication and resiliency. I just think that, those are things that, how do we embed those into, our curriculum and make sure that all the kids are graduating with that? That's just those are two significant skills. And I'm guessing, Brandon, you kind of had to probably learn those because some of it we can't teach all the time, everything, right? It's more if you got to learn them on the fly. So tell us a little bit about, how you had to learn those and some stories that maybe tie to those experiences where you said, well, this is the moment where I got to, pull my bootstraps up and push forward.
I think I'll always remember this. This was in college. So my freshman year, we were playing, I want to say it was like Moraine Valley. And this was like, at the time we were like top of the standings. Like we're the team that everybody was trying to beat. And we're playing like one of the lower level teams. And I come in to pitch and we're up 1. I end up coming in. I walked bases loaded, walking the tying, walking the winning run. And then we come back, quiet bus ride. Coach just huddles us all up in the in our clubhouse, dead silent room, and he just comes in and he's lighting us up. He ends up coming after me, like to begin with, about like my lack of focus with allowing that to happen. 5 walks, end up losing the game. Like that's complete lack of focus. He ends up just getting on me, and really in front of everybody too. So especially as 18-year-old kid, it's a little tough on you, especially when he's raising the voice. After that, there's like this like switch in my head, like after that, and like I got in like this zone, and like my gameplay after that was like really good. I think he said something like towards the end of the year, like after I had that incident of walking everybody, he said I think like the next like 50 some innings, I walked like 1 person after that. And so, I mean, it just kind of flipped a switch in my head. Like, like bad performance, nothing, like, don't dwell on it. Obviously, go over it, learn from the mistakes. And then after that, just battle. And then it paid out. Like I said, the 50 plus innings of only walking 1 guy, like just completely flipped a switch in my head.
Well, I'm thinking as you talk, like, I think all of us have been on the other end of either a coach or a parent who maybe hasn't delivered feedback or constructive criticism in the easiest way to digest. But it sounds like you just, again, and this is the best part about feedback, is how the receiver who's getting it can process it. I can either get ticked off and angry and upset and point the finger, or I can internally process it and reflect and say, I need to be better. And it sounds like that's what you did for sure.
Yeah, like the biggest thing I always go by, and this is what the assistant coach would always say, like when Coach Davenport would get on us, he said, listen to more of the message behind the tone. So don't listen to the tone as much as you would like the message. Like, even though he's yelling at you and his voice is raised, like the message behind all that is what really matters. So if like you're able to block out the whole yelling part of it and really listen to what's going on behind all of that, then you can really apply that to help you like improve with whatever's needing improvement, basically.
I think that goes for anything, right? When you're listening to your bosses or whatever, to go, yeah, listen. I think that's great advice. To listen to the message.
Yeah, listen to more of the message than the tone, because like the tone sucks, but like that message behind that tone, that's what's gonna like help you out in the long run or in the end.
Yeah, I think it's just so interesting, and I mean, thank you for coming today, because sometimes we're all like, oh, pro athletes or whatever it might be, and I think the same skills apply to life or to any
100%.
job of
100%,
right, listening,
yes.
body language, how you present yourself to people, how you communicate with people. And I don't know if we always think of that, but those are like really important skills that obviously you had learned going through the college side of things. And yeah, it's got probably helped get you where you are today. That
yeah, I think it played a huge part, because I mean, as I was younger, I was a little knucklehead. I mean, you guys know.
Really?
I mean,
just kidding,
Brandon. So were we. So were we.
But yeah, I think like really understanding all of that and how important it really is, like, helped me mature like throughout the years. And I think like it like you said, I think it's made me better, like especially like the baseball side of things too, but also as a person and like a human being as well.
So I the other thing that you brought up when we were waiting for StreamYard to go live, I think about the resiliency when you're interacting and receiving maybe difficult feedback, right? You and I were having a private conversation about the resiliency to, right? I mean, you're I don't even know, the elite 1%, if not more, of all athletes, right? You're there. You're in, you're not at the show, but you're at the doorstep and hoping to get there.
Yeah.
You were telling me about like living conditions and getting up in the morning and that type of, share a little bit with people who are on, kind of recapture that story about what it takes every day. Because we do it. Anybody who's, I mean, we've all worked and got the grind, and every morning's to get up and do it every day. It's not easy, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to call in and cash in. Talk a little bit about like the living conditions and the grind and how what keeps you focused every day to come in and do your best.
Yeah. So, they're getting better. Like I said before, the past years, they have been tough. Especially when it came to, literally having to find our own apartment, and especially when we're only going to be at that place for 6 months. And, if you end up moving around too, then that's another issue you have to deal with the whole leasing process. But, it's definitely getting better. Especially with, they're starting to get us our own places, giving us like our own bedrooms now, instead of, just packing in 5-6 guys into an apartment. That's kind of how it was in 21. It was, 6 guys in my apartment, me and 3 other guys on an air mattress. 2 of them got a bed. But yeah, basically, I mean, a couple years ago, it was a grind. You come back after being at the field for 8 to 10 hours every single day. You get to come home to a nice air mattress and then start it all up again. But at the end of the day, like, it's, even though like some of the living conditions, it's a struggle, and the whole pain, getting paid, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, like, you get to play a game for a living. Like, that's your job. Like, not many people get to say that. Like, oh, like, what do you work? Like, what do you do for work? Like, oh yeah, I play baseball. Like, it's a pretty cool thing to say that. Like, even though like it's a tough grind for the minor leagues, but the reward at the end, like getting to the big leagues, like, it's a goal that a lot of baseball players want, and they'll do anything for to get to.
Yeah. Well, and I'm gonna flip it back again to like employment, that we don't all start out as CEOs or supervisors or foremen, that sometimes you gotta shovel the walk, and sometimes you have to do stuff that you're like, wow, I didn't think I'd have to do this, or I want to be at the next level. And yeah, no, I compliment you, Brandon. Having known you through high school and having that opportunity to get to know you, like you not only work tirelessly and always have, but I think learning those skills have really upped your game as far as your, you talk body language, you talk listening, you talk communication. And I think, yeah, you have listened, because you've matured into a fine young man, I guess I would say. I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but
we're all proud of him.
Yeah, super proud of you. And,
appreciate it.
Yeah, and all that hard work. And yeah, I think that's what we wanted to relay today, is that there's comparisons between really successful people and professional athletes and all of us, that most of us go pro in life, in a job. And we get to watch guys like you on TV, but I think they correlate in so many ways and so many skills.
Well, I think the other thing I'm thinking
100%.
about too, Brandon, talk about, you've been on plenty of teams in your life, right?
Yep.
Ones that you hoped were better, right? Ones that excelled. Talk about like the ingredients. Like, what are 3 things that in on a great team? Like, talk about that culture. What things do you notice right away when you walk in? I mean, the Cardinals are pretty elite when it comes to professional sports. What are the 3 things you've noticed in your travels on the difference between great cultures and ones not? And focus more on the really good teams. Like, what are the 3 things you noticed?
I want to say, like, the biggest thing is everybody literally everybody on the team, like, gets along and gels. Like, there's not like that 1 or 2 guys. Like, it's like every single person. So, like, a good example of that would be like my freshman year at Madison. Like, it was pretty crazy. Like, the first 2 weeks, feeling out with everybody. But then, like, after that, it was just like everybody gelled together, like, really quick. And it wasn't like groups. Like, everybody's like, oh, these groups of guys, like, these group of people are hanging out with each other. It was like, no, like, everybody's hanging out with everybody. We're not like sectioned off and like, oh, this is our little group, this and that. And we'll compare it to like my high A team, Fort Wayne. Down there, I felt like it was very, very cliquey almost. Okay. Right. And I mean, I'm sure from you guys watching, you saw like we weren't the best team in the Midwest League. Obviously, we struggled a lot. And it's kind of been like that. Like, even when I first got into Fort Wayne in 19, when they were the low A level, I felt the same way there too. Like, it was just very like cliquey, and people were just kind of like, oh, these are my guys, I'm sticking with them. Like, everybody else, I'm kind of just like pushing them away, but like not obviously being like completely disrespectful about it.
Okay, so that's 1. So you got team camaraderie, get along. Give me 2 more. And if you got 1 more, that'd be great.
I'd have to go with management, really.
Okay. So leadership, right?
Yeah, leadership. Basically, so like what I noticed between like the high school and college and professional level, like I see more leadership in the players at the pro level than I do at like the college and high school level. Like I see the coaching being more of the leaders and leading more at college and high school compared to pro. I feel like with the pro level, it's very like on your own, right? Like,
sure.
Because like at the end of the day, like, you're all on a team together, but you're still competing against one another. So like that's the weird thing about it. It's like, yeah, the guy next to you is like, that's your boy. You're gonna, you're going to war with him, but you're also like, yeah, I also like I want that AA or AAA spot more than he does. So like that's the crazy thing about like the difference between the two of like the amateur college level and then the professional level.
Well, I think those are 2 pretty key ingredients, right, Coach? Like
very much,
right?
Yeah, that culture,
camaraderie and sharing and leadership. I don't know if there's any organization That's not trying to work on those two ingredients. So we try and keep this about 15 minutes, Brandon. So we're going to do, as we approach the new year, we like to do thanks or shout outs. So I'll start with Coach Angelo. John, who do you want to thank or give a shout out to before we move on to the new year?
Boy, I think I got to thank the Elkhorn community and the chamber. We did the Christmas meal on Sunday morning, and we deliver meals, and people come pick up meals that need them for people that maybe can't get out. And the volunteers that were there were amazing. I bet there was 30 people there that showed up to volunteer. So congrats to the community of Elkhorn for chipping in and showing up big.
I'm going to give a shout out to all of our fall and winter coaches who work for about $1.50 an hour, maybe, put in countless efforts and are doing everything they can to turn 3 adults who are on the call right now from immature knuckleheads into young men and young women, right, Brandon? Right? And
I agree.
They do it tirelessly. And I just want to thank them for everything they've done. And we had a great event, John, that you organized and put together along with Coach Handel for the celebrating the state championship team for the girls basketball. And, recognizing those coaches for their effort. So my shout outs to the coaches. Brandon, you're up. Who do you want to shout out or thank?
Just shout out to my friends, families, and peers. Everybody who's believed in me or followed me to this point. I just want to thank you and shout out to you guys. You guys inspire me and motivate me to become great and do good things. So thank you. Shout out to you
Keep
guys.
working hard, Brandon. It's fun to watch you.
All right.
Appreciate
on that note,
we're wrapping it up.
2022 noon whistle closes out with Brandon Komar. Brandon, thanks for being on. We're going to end the broadcast now. Best of
Thanks
luck.
for having me.
We're proud of you.
Yeah,
Take care.
Brandon.
Yep,
Thank
you
you
as well.
All right. Happy New Year to everybody.
Yeah,
Happy
you
New
as
Year.
well.